clogged with limescale and dirt. Why not use Calgon 2-in-1 to help protect your machine from residues left over from washing at low temperature? For clean results and a longer-lasting machine, Calgon 2-in-1.
Washing machines live longer with Calgon.
McVitie's Digestives, the crumbly cuddle of McVitie's. Sweet.
Honestly, Mummy lies, Lou. You look fantastic. Getting ridiculous. Get out of the car. Right, come on. You look fine. Leo, go on, you lead the way. Thank you. Sophia?
Worried about head lice?
Thank you, Tia.
Parents in the know protect and go. Clinical studies show it helps stop head lice infestations before they start. Part of the Hedrin family.
Mark is bored with his job and his ambitions aren't being fulfilled. Luckily, Franchise Opportunities Live is coming to the Park Plaza Victoria in central London on the 5th and 6th of September. It gives Mark the chance to explore a variety of businesses approved by the British Franchise Association and receive expert advice on how to become his own boss with the support of an established brand. Find a franchise to match your ambitions. For free tickets, go to franchisetickets.co.uk.
Argos it and get a free £5 voucher when you spend £50 or a free £10 voucher when you spend £100. Argos it.
Wow. For a limited time only, you can get PlusNet's unlimited super-fast fibre-optic broadband from just £3.75 a month. At that price, even more people can go faster.
Get the UK's lowest price fibre broadband.
PlusNet Unlimited Fibre, now from just £3.75 a month. Don't miss out. Call now on 0800 681 6000. PlusNet will do you proud.
At Morrison's, we like to do things ourselves, so we can keep our quality high and our prices low. Like these salad tomatoes, 69p. Baby potatoes, 89p. And carrots, 69p. These aren't offers, they're our everyday low prices.
More amazing stories from the past when Secrets from the Asylum continues tomorrow night at 9. Now though, the latest headlines with the ITV Lunchtime News.
A win for Alex Salmond in the TV debate on Scottish independence as the real voting begins by post. In just over 3 weeks, the man wanting Scotland out of the UK will be tested in the ballot box. But the Better Together campaign remains ahead in the polls. Also this lunchtime, international calls for a ban on using e-cigarettes indoors. The Lib Dems propose sex education for 7-year-olds, but is that too young?
And the Emmy goes to Benedict Cumberbatch.
And a good night for British TV at the Emmys as Sherlock claims a hat-trick of awards.
This is ITV News with Nina Hussain.
Good afternoon. The increasingly bitter fight over the future of Scotland is reaching a climax with 3 weeks to go to the referendum. The leaders of the two campaigns, Alex Salmond and Alistair Darling, have been canvassing support this morning after a fierce television debate last night. With 700,000 postal votes sent out today, both know there are just hours to go before the first votes are cast. Martin Geiser reports from Glasgow on the final push.
Alex Salmond was on government business this morning, trying, unconvincingly, to contain a grin. He needed to win last night's debate, and he did. But he told me he's not getting carried away.
With due respect to the television and the media. The real campaign is actually being fought in the streets and the towns, the villages, the town halls, the community halls across Scotland.
So last night doesn't really matter?
But no, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying what the real campaign and where it's being fought. I think it matters in the sense that the Yes campaigners will have a spring in their step.
The world is watching Scotland. There seems little doubt now the contest will be close. Alistair Darling struggled last night, but this morning his message was clear.
The poll that matters is the one that's on the 18th September, and of course the postal votes which people are starting to fill in. And I think people will have at the front of their minds the future, not just of the country, but of themselves, their family and the generations to come. And they know this is a very, very profound decision they're taking, the most important decision they'll probably take in their lifetime. And if we go, there's no coming back.
This night at the museum was billed as a blockbuster. In the end, it became a bad-tempered scrap.
When you were to answer a question. I'm not going to take lectures from a man who likes and undermine the entire economy.
We are going to the polls in just 2 days' time, and he can't answer basic questions on currency, he can't answer basic questions on how much we've spent.
Few real issues were laid to rest. Few of the serious questions answered.
They're going to spend £4 billion a year on Trident, and he can't name the 3 job-creating powers for the Parliament. Alistair, you've just made a wonderful case for voting yes in this referendum.
You can't tell me what money we'll be using.
Voters who haven't yet made up their minds, and there are hundreds of thousands of them, saw Alex Salmond in top form. But vote for him? That may be a different matter. The Small family from Glasgow were members of a large TV audience last night. Like half of all Scottish households, they are split over independence, but all could still be persuaded by either side. That didn't happen here.
I haven't swung completely to the no and I haven't swung completely to the yes, so it's pretty much the same. Both men did very, very well.
I don't think the result, the outcome of the referendum will be coming out of either of those 2 debates. I think it's bigger and stronger and more from the heart than that.
But I'm really just not sure what I will vote at all. If anything, it's made me more uncertain.
They and the people of Scotland have just 3.5 weeks left to make up their minds.
Martin, a resounding win for Alex Salmond last night, but what impact will it have on his campaign now?
Well, I think you heard it from the man himself. He said to me that this will give them a spring in their step. I'm not sure it'll do much more than that. Conversely, it will probably knock a little bit of the wind out of the sails of the No campaign for a little while, but I'm not sure how much real difference long-term this will make. You'll remember Alistair Darling fairly comprehensively won the first debate between these two, and he dipped a little in the polls after that. So there's no real reason for Mr Salmond to think that this will boost the Yes campaign conclusively or in the long term. You know, different polls tell different stories. The last poll of polls, and that's a better gauge of what's really going on in Scotland, came out 2 weeks ago. That put Alex Salmond's pro-independence Yes campaign on 43%. Just 7% would be enough to get Scotland independence. Not much, you might think, but consider this. Those polls haven't really shifted substantially, certainly not by a margin of 7% in the last 2 years. So the Yes campaign still need to find a game changer from somewhere. Those hundreds of thousands of undecided voters I was talking about in that report, they pretty much all need to be persuaded to come on side if Mr Salmond is going to win independence, and he's got just 3 weeks left to do it. They'll be fighting his Yes campaigners in town halls and on street corners and so on, but they need to find some very persuasive power. Last night, that was a good start, perhaps not much more than that.
Martin Geisler, thank you. The World Health Organization announced today it wants e-cigarettes to be banned indoors because of health fears. In a report out today, the organisation also called for a ban on selling them to minors and on special flavourings like fruit or sweets. And they want makers to stop claiming they help people quit smoking until they have scientific evidence to back that up. Nick Thatcher has the details.
At this East London coffee shop, they sell electronic cigarettes and allow people to enjoy them indoors. Products like these are often marketed as a safer alternative to smoking, but a range of tough regulations could soon restrict their use.
You cannot stop people from vaping. You cannot stop 2.1 million UK vapers stop buying anything unless you want to take away the freedom of acting. And I do believe that this is, electronic cigarette is the less dangerous of the two evils.
Electronic cigarettes contain a battery and a heating element that warms a nicotine solution to produce a vapour without tar. But the World Health Organization wants greater regulation of these devices and their contents. The report recommends prohibiting e-cigarette manufacturers from making health claims without supporting scientific evidence. It also wants a ban on solutions that include fruit, sweet-like and alcohol drinks flavours, and the removal of vending machines from almost all locations.
It says that there are opportunities from electronic cigarettes in helping people to quit smoking, but we need to manage what some of the risks from the products might be by making sure that we have the right form of regulation.
Many bars and restaurants already ban e-cigarettes. The World Health Organization wants that to become the norm. And in a week when US researchers suggested e-cigs may be more tempting to younger people, who are then more likely to give regular cigarettes a try, the report also wants to stop the sale to children. Nick Thatcher, ITV News.
I'm joined now by our business editor, Joel Hills. If these proposals came into practice, what would it mean for the tobacco industry?
Well, there's restrictions. None of the tobacco companies will like that. When we say tobacco companies, let's remember that many of the companies that make and manufacture these e-cigarettes are actually the big global tobacco companies. Now, in a sense, they'll be happy, Nina, because the restrictions have fallen some way short of what they were really feeling, which was an outright ban. It has happened elsewhere in the world. 13 countries, including Australia, have restricted severely the sale of e-cigarettes altogether with any element of nicotine. Now, they've questioned the effectiveness, the WHO, of this as a means of quitting tobacco smoking. They've also made the point that although it's healthier than tobacco smoking, it is not healthy to smoke e-cigarettes. But the other interesting element here is that the WHO has clearly pointed out it does not like this tension. The fact that some of the big tobacco companies are making e-cigarettes is an obvious vested interest there. It's a matter of grave concern. As they put it, it's part of, they're pretending to be part of a solution to a global smoking epidemic.
Joel Hills, thank you. Police forces in England and Wales have agreed to adopt a new government code of conduct on the use of stop and searches in the street. The Home Secretary Theresa May says such policing methods are often being misused and are damaging relations between the public and police. Officers will now keep detailed records of every stop and search they carry out. And more people are surviving cancer than ever before, according to new figures. The proportion of patients in England who are still alive a year after being diagnosed has improved for all of the most common types of the disease. The Public Health England figures are the most comprehensive ever produced. A British volunteer nurse who contracted the Ebola virus has been described as a hero by one of the charities he worked for in Sierra Leone. William Pooley was flown back to Britain over the weekend and is being treated in hospital in London. Lewis Vaughan-Jones is outside the hospital this lunchtime. Lewis, what more have we learned about the work Mr Pooley was doing in Africa?
Well, we know the original reason why he was in Sierra Leone was actually nothing to do with Ebola. He was out there volunteering at a different hospice. It was there that he heard about what was happening in the Ebola clinic. That was staff refusing to turn up to work, some healthcare workers dying, and it's against that backdrop that he made the decision to go in and help. And I think that's why the descriptions of brave come so easily to mind here. He started then leading a team of nurses, and we assume his work helped save lives. Now, one of the colleagues who was working with him out there in Sierra Leone has reportedly spoken to him since he contracted Ebola and describes his state of mind as positive despite that.
And what's the latest on his condition?
Well, there's no official update from the doctors here at the Royal Free Hospital in North London. No official update. We possibly could be getting one this afternoon or in the coming days. As for his treatment, we know he is still being held in isolation. He was brought here on Sunday evening, first of all, and he's essentially being held in a sterile plastic bubble. So the doctors and nurses will only be interacting with him from outside that, and they will be given supportive help. There is no cure for this, but they will be giving him supportive treatment while he tries to fight this disease himself.
Lewis Vaughan-Jones, thank you. Still to come, the Ukraine crisis escalates as video is released of captured Russian soldiers.
And the Emmy goes to Breaking Bad.
And And a big win at the Emmys as Breaking Bad notches up 5 awards. Before that, the Liberal Democrats want sex education in schools to begin at the age of 7. The party is calling for the lessons to be compulsory in all state primary schools. The proposals announced today will form part of the Lib Dems' election manifesto. Well, I'm joined by 2 campaigners, Pavan Dhaliwal, who supports the move, and Antonia Tully, who is against it. Thank you both for coming in. Pavan, if I can start with you, why do you think that 7-year-olds should get sex education lessons at that age?
Well, Nina, all the evidence points to the fact that if young people are equipped with knowledge, they go on to make better informed decisions at a later stage. So
even as young as 7?
Even as young as 7, earlier than 7 as well. And these are the subject will be covering a wide array of areas, such as making healthy choices, what do healthy relationships look like, consent, sexual exploitation. And it's really vital that in modern society we're covering these areas which are so salient to young people today.
It sounds like a reasonable argument. Why are you against sex education at that age?
Because there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that it impacts positively on children, and parents are the experts here. Parents know their children best, love their children best, understand their children best. They are the ones who should be talking about sexual issues to their 7-year-olds. I talk to so many parents every year who phone up the SPUC Safe at School campaign because frankly they're just shocked and horrified when they actually discover what their children are learning at school.
What about the parents who don't either want to or don't feel as if they should talk about those sort of difficult issues with their children, especially as young as 7?
Well, it can be difficult, but I think parents are hugely underestimated in their capacity for doing this. I think most parents, most mums of 7-year-olds are perfectly capable of talking about the sort of issues that a 7-year-old needs to know about. And if you talk about these issues at home with your own child...
What about the parents who just won't do that?
I think schools there have a role to encourage parents to do that, but I think the vast majority of parents are capable of doing it, would like to do it, and do not want to be undermined by schools.
We've had this debate before. We haven't had compulsory sex education lessons for primary school children. Will this Lib Dem proposal change any of that?
Well, what we're hoping is actually, because obviously the Liberal Democrats have supported this, but what we want is cross-party support on this. And, you know, you could make that same argument on SRE for most areas of the curriculum. It's not for the parents at home to be covering, like I said, these really complex areas which cover everything from consent to exploitation and pornography and domestic violence, all of these areas that need to be covered in an age-appropriate way. And all the evidence does actually point to the fact that it does go on to lead to better informed choices.
Pavan and Antonio, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you both. Thank you. 10 Russian paratroopers have been captured by the Ukrainian army in eastern Ukraine. The Russian military say they crossed the border by accident. A video of the soldiers has been released by Ukraine's security service. Today, Russia's President Putin is holding talks with his Ukrainian counterpart over solving the crisis in the region. Our international affairs editor Ragi Omar has the latest.
The 4 men said to be Russian paratroopers were shown being questioned by Ukrainian forces. One of them gave his personal details and the regiment to which he belonged. Another said he didn't realize that they'd crossed the border, and the only thing he was told was that they were going on a 45-mile march over 3 days. Russia says they were on a routine patrol and crossed an unmarked section of the border by accident. But Ukraine's defense spokesman refutes this, saying it was not a mistake, it was a special mission the Russian soldiers were carrying out. And that this is why Russia's military leadership had to think about what they were doing. Shelling and fighting continued overnight near to rebel-held districts of Donetsk. Britain, the US and their Western allies have in the past alleged that Russia has been secretly sending men, weapons and supplies across the border to help the separatists fighting the Ukrainian government, something Moscow has strongly denied. The incident came only hours before Ukrainian President Poroshenko arrived in Minsk for talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, aimed at trying to find a way out of the 5-month conflict. The EU Foreign Affairs Chief Catherine Ashton is also taking part. But expectations of a breakthrough are low, and despite the handshakes between the two leaders, they are separated by wide differences. Raghi Omar, ITV News.
Some breaking news to bring you this lunchtime, and the London Mayor Boris Johnson has just confirmed he is seeking to become the Conservative candidate for Uxbridge and South Ruislip at the 2015 general election. His spokesperson has just confirmed that news in the last few minutes. Ambulance workers are to stage more strikes in a long-running dispute over working conditions and safety issues. Members of the Unite union at the Yorkshire Ambulance Service will walk out for 6 hours on Friday and next Tuesday. The union accused the local NHS trust of refusing to hold talks to try and resolve the row, which centres on new shift patterns. Rail commuters going south on the East Coast Main Line have experienced hours of delays due to overhead wire problems. Engineers worked throughout the night to repair the damage to the line near Peterborough. And 261 people were arrested during this year's Notting Hill Carnival for offences ranging from drugs to assault and theft. 2 officers were injured in yesterday's finale and needed hospital treatment, but both have now been discharged. The football player who's set to become the most expensive player ever signed by a British club arrived at Manchester United today, ready to complete his move to Old Trafford. Argentina's Angel Di Maria will cost United nearly £60 million. Our sports correspondent Ian Payne tells more about Di Maria.
He is an Argentine, he's 26 years old, he is a winger or attacking midfielder, and he's going to cost Manchester United a record £59 million. And it's certainly a lot more than his first ever transfer. When he was only 4 years old in Argentina, he moved clubs for 35 footballs. A bit more expensive now. He was lucky to make it to 4, actually. When he was 1, apparently his mum says he fell down a well and was fortunate to survive. But he did. He's a brilliant player. He played for Argentina in the World Cup. Madrid didn't want him to leave, but he didn't feel he was going to get first-team football with all their new signings. He also going to earn more at Manchester United, and he's going to wear the number 7 shirt, which was worn by players such as George Best, Eric Cantona, David Beckham, and Cristiano Ronaldo.
And he's one of a number of big money transfers this summer.
It's just mind-blowing how much money is around now. You'd think that things would calm down, but they're not going to calm down. Manchester United have now spent in the region of 140 million this summer. The Premier League as a whole has spent something like over £700 million. That's a record, and it's all because of these TV deals. The next one's imminent. It's going to be even more. Make sure your children play football.
Ian Payne, thank you. A reminder of our main stories this lunchtime. The 2 sides of the Scottish independence debate are back on the campaign trail today after Alex Salmond claimed victory in last night's final TV debate. The first postal votes were sent out today, just over 3 weeks ahead of the referendum. Finally, this lunchtime, the American drama Breaking Bad may have finished last year, but it's still managing to win awards. It scooped 5 prestigious Emmys last night, and there was a hat-trick for a British drama too, with the writer and 2 of the stars of Sherlock also winning, as Sally Biddulph now reports.
And the Emmy goes to Benedict Cumberbatch.
Sherlock, his last vow.
Martin Freeman, Sherlock, his last vow.
3 Emmys and case closed. Sherlock was the big British winner at last night's Emmys.
Did you just get engaged to break into an office? Yeah. Stroke of luck meeting at your wedding. You could take some of the credit.
The detective drama won 3 gongs, 1 for each of its leads, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and a 3rd for its writer, Stephen Moffat.
Thank you so much. This is utterly thrilling.
Ricky Gervais missed out on Best Lead Actor in a comedy, but at least he wasn't bitter about it.
I lost again. That was good. 21 times. 21 times I've been nominated. Lost 19. It's like a cruel joke. It's like they're going, oh, you're great. Am I? Yeah, come over. You're brilliant. Am I? No. No, you're not.
Breaking Bad was the night's big winner with 5 Emmys, including the coveted prize for Best Drama for the 2nd year running.
I'm a dying man who runs a car wash. My right hand to God. That is all that I am.
Winners aside, though, the night really belonged to the late Robin Williams, with a tribute from his friend Billy Crystal.
It's very hard to talk about him in the past because he was so present in all of our lives. for almost 40 years. He was the brightest star in a comedy galaxy. Robin Williams. What a concept.
Together, the TV world remembered and smiled. Sally Biddulph, ITV News.
And that is it this lunchtime. Alistair Stewart and Mary Nightingale will be here with the ITV News at 6:30. From everyone here for now, bye-bye.
Preparing the nation every day. ITV National Weather, sponsored by Vitabiotics Vitamins.
Hello to you again, a very good afternoon to you. Well, a tale of two halves for us today. High pressure dominates across the north, keeping it settled, dry and fine. To the opposite end of the country, this low pressure system responsible for the horribly wet conditions through Bank Holiday Monday continues to give rain across southern counties in the next few hours. The chance of some hefty slow moving downpours here. For the rest of us, much better than it was yesterday, if a little cloudy, with brighter skies reserved for many northern and eastern locations. Highs of around about 20 or 21 degrees. Quite muggy and close feeling where we've got the wet weather in the south, I should think. But a slow improvement here later in the day. Just a little grey and drizzly around the Channel coast. Otherwise, well, what a difference a day makes. Lovely sunshine as we end the evening. Enjoy. I'll see you again soon.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by Vitabiotics Vitamins.
This is the story of you. It's about you, the mum. You from the market down the road. It's about you on the bus. And you with the ridiculous shirt on.
And it's about us. Because if you've been hurt and it's not your fault, Injury Lawyers for You are the people you should call. We're here to give you advice and support and help you get your life back on track.
Injury Lawyers for You. Call 0800 440 2222 or visit injurylawyersforyou.co.uk.
La onda es pesado luchando por mi vida. Bienvenidos a mi barrio, ahí lo veo, los pistoleros, por esos besos tanto tiroteo, por la droga matan a inocentes, por el poder abusan nuestra gente. Yo quiero vivir, ellos quieren morir. Un chance, yo puedo hacerlo. Un chance, me levanto con el sol dentro de mi.
Kenco are helping young people stay out of gangs by training them as coffee farmers. Follow their story at coffeeversusgangs.com.
Wow, look at that! Flash liquid gel. Oh, it has a nozzle that stops by itself so nothing's wasted.
Smaller than before, but with more power in every drop.
Solve